Shabbat Shalom. Today, our Torah portion, is called Reeh, which means behold or see. And, I was thinking about it. I called it, How Do We Combat Anti-Semitism? And as usual, the words of the parasha just jumped off the pages at me. I've had so many discussions with friends and with family, and some who are deeply involved in the New Age. And whenever I tell them how sad I am that our people are so involved in that lifestyle, the first thing they do is accuse me of being judgmental. And they tell me that everyone is free to pursue God in their own way. And of course, they're right, we are. We have been given the gift of free will. And I tell them, listen, I'm the last one to judge. But I know the high cost of delving into those things that God told us not to touch. It's like playing with fire. That's why this portion is so meaningful for me this week. Now, Moses begins in Deuteronomy 11:26, and he says, Re'eh, see, look, behold, I'm setting you before this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you obey the commandments of the Lord your God, and a curse if you will not obey the commandments of the Lord your God. But if you turn aside from the way which I command you this day to go after other gods, which you have not known. When I read the word curse, klala, I had quick flashes of the consequences that I, my family, and my children suffered because I didn't know these verses in Devarim. I didn't live them. I had lost everything. I lost all the money that I had, my property, my health, my identity, and most of all, my purpose in life. But the moment that I turned back to the Creator's way and began to follow His commandments, the blessings began to replace the curses, and they continue to this very day. And that's what we call teshuvah. When God's words sound harsh, and they sound harsh, it's because He knows evil and He wants to protect us. When we discipline our children, is it because we hate them? When a father says, as he's spanking his child, this is hurting me more than it's hurting you, he's absolutely right. It's so much easier to look away and allow our children to do whatever they want. But that's not being a parent. We are not our children's friends, and we don't need to seek their approval. I recently listened to an Orthodox rabbi who has hundreds of thousands of followers on social media. He said that he hates the word commandment. It's not positive. God doesn't care if he sounds positive. He wants to save us from the consequences of evil. No one likes to be ordered around. But let me tell you, when a country is at war, soldiers need a strong commander who has their best interests at heart. The world is in the throes of a spiritual war, and God's commandments are what we need to win it. In Deuteronomy, in Devarim 12, God gave us chukim and mishpatim to guide us on how to live well in the land He was entrusting to us. He warned us, do not be like those pagan nations occupying the land that belongs to Him, the land that He would now be sharing with us. He understood the nature of their death cults, and they had to be eradicated. He ordered the people, overthrow their altars, break down their pillars, burn their asherim, cut down the carved images of their gods, and destroy their names from that place. They were to have nothing to do with those gods, whose rituals were merciless. These gods have always played a part in our world, and they have come in all sizes and shapes, from the governments to institutions to ideologies and religions that are at war with the one God. So, how do we combat them? In the next verses of chapter 12, as well as chapter 15, Moses instructs us in all manner of tithes and offerings, because giving is how we show gratitude to our protector. It's easy to talk about being thankful, but hard to reach down where it hurts the most, in our pockets, in our golden calf. And we are to give His way, not ours, because we are supposed to take care of the orphan, the widow, the ger, the stranger among us, the Levites who are linked to our Creator, and to the poor. Then Moses speaks a lot about eating. Maybe that's why we Jews love to eat. But it's really all about rejoicing together in community around food and drink. We were to offer the best of what we had to reflect our gratitude to God for His provision. First, our gratitude for everything He gave us through our tithes and offerings, now for His provision. He said that we could eat meat to our heart's desire, only do not eat the blood, which was a major pagan ritual, because He was the God of the living, not the dead. Everything He instructed us, directed us away from paganism and toward Him. The secret to having things go well in our lives is written in His own words in chapter 12, verse 28 and on. Observe and hear, shmor v'shamata, all these words which I command you, that it may go well with you and with your children after you forever, when you do what is good and right in the sight of the Lord your God. Not in our sight, because for us, we always do what's good in our sight. But here, it's in the sight of the Lord our God. Moses continues in Deuteronomy 13, verse 1. This is important. Whatever I command you, take care to do it. Do not add and do not take away from it. These might be one of the most important lines in the whole Torah. Obedience and not replacing His words with our own are the keys to living with shalom. But everyone does that. Intentionally or unintentionally, we all interpret God's words through the filters of our own understanding, and they, over time, become our truth, no longer God's truth. We believe those who speak their truth with power and authority because we don't read His original writings. Over time, one small change opens Pandora's box, and people who haven't taken the time to question will begin to believe anything. Hosea 4, verse 6 says, our people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Then God warns us in Deuteronomy 13, verses 2 to 4. If there arises among you a prophet or a dreamer of dreams and gives you a sign or a wonder which comes to pass and says, let us go after other gods, which you have not known, and serve them, do not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for the Lord your God is testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God with all His heart, with all your heart and all your soul. We have prophets and dreamers of dreams everywhere today. Remember, the Hebrew word for love, He says, He's testing you to know whether you love the Lord your God. The word for love in Hebrew means loyalty, and it's expressed in verse 5. How are we loyal? By walking with Him, by fearing Him, revering Him, by keeping his commandments, by obeying his voice, by serving him and holding fast to him. I spent years listening to false prophets who led me down the wrong road. They sound good, but they lead us in the wrong direction. But now, after 37 years of immersion in the Torah, I can recognize when anyone is enticing me to go and serve other gods. Moses told us, inquire, search, ask diligently. Don't just jump in. Verse 18 fills me with awesome gratitude. He says, and nothing of what was devoted to destruction shall remain in your hand, that the Lord may turn from the fierceness of his anger, that he may show you his mercy and have compassion on you. But remember, it is a two-way covenant. For as verse 19 says, when you pay attention to the voice of the Lord your God, to keep all his commandments, to do what is right in the sight of the Lord your God. That's when what Rabbi always said happens. And we understand that our God is the God of beginning again. Deuteronomy 14 verse 1 instructs, you are the children of the Lord your God. Do not cut yourself. Don't make gashes in your skin. Do not make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. That was a pagan Canaanite ritual to mourn the dead. Then verse 3 says, you shall not eat any abominable thing. This was right after. And it continues with all that we can and we cannot eat. What do paganism and food have to do with each other? In this section, we'll read all about the acceptable and non-acceptable foods. I think it's the acceptable foods here. But it ends with a very strange verse, 21. You shall not eat anything that dies of itself. You shall give it to the stranger, the ger, who is in your gates, that he may eat it. Or you may sell it to a foreigner, nachri, an alien, who really not interested in our God. For you are a holy, a separated people to the Lord your God. And it ends with, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. So wait, whatever dies a natural death, we can give to the stranger? Isn't the ger the one who joined with God's people, like Caleb and Ruth, who were integrated with us, we were supposed to take care of? And we could sell it to the foreigner, the nachri, those who were not interested in joining us, the alien. So I wonder, does God hate the rest of his creation and only loves Israel? So we have to step back. It's a mosaic. What is God telling us? You know, many of the laws of kashrut come from these hukim. So let's go back. The section began with, do not gash yourself or shave the front of your heads because of the dead. And then it closes with, you shall not boil a kid in its mother's milk. These are like two bookends, and both are about paganism. Also, it says, when he's talking about any firstborn male of the flock in Deuteronomy 15:21, and if there is any blemish in it, if it is lame, blind, or sick, do not sacrifice it to the Lord your God inside your gates. The clean and the unclean person shall eat it, like the gazelle and the deer. In other words, the animals that were not accepted as an offering could be eaten by anyone, tahor, or tameh. How do we join all these pieces of the puzzle together? Well, it looks like food was not the issue, but was a means to direct the people's attention away from the abominable pagan practices and look toward the one God, the Creator. It had nothing to do with today's traditional laws of kashrut. And don't get me wrong, a tradition is a good thing if it draws people closer to God. But if it becomes a source of division and even corruption, are we fulfilling God's purpose of being unified and being a light to the nations? The animals offered to God and used to feed the people were for thanksgiving for God's provision, for celebrating and rejoicing with family and friends, and for doing teshuvah. So God is telling us, stay away from the enticement of man's gods, from anything that replaces God's wisdom with our own. And what do these enticements look like today? Just to name a few. God said he created male and female. And what do man say? What do we say? You can identify as anything you want. God said the seventh day is a Shabbat, a sign of his very existence. And what do we say? You have to work 7 days so I can reach my bottom line. Or I can choose whatever day I want to rest, or that I order you to rest on. On the seventh day, the Sunday, or the Friday. God made a marriage pact, a sacred pact between male and female, whose children would continue their lineage. What do we say? I can marry whoever I love, no matter what. And I could choose to have no children, and I could choose to have a dog. God said, do not commit premeditated murder. We say, it's my body. I can do whatever I want with it, even choose to kill my unborn baby when it's not convenient. We build organizations focused on fighting the symptoms rather than dealing with the root causes. The Torah has been hailed as a religious book that only a few elite can understand. Yet this is the furthest thing from the truth. It was handed to a simple people, and it's a simple message, but we don't read it. And even if we do, we give up because it's not easy to live. Moses was not afraid to write the things as they were or as they are, but mankind wants us to be afraid so we can depend on them and not on God. It seems confusing. We need to try to find the bottom line. The Creator wants his people united, for he says a house divided against itself cannot stand. That's what Yeshua said. He separated a people from the nations, the pagan nations, and gave us a calling to be light to the nations. And he does it with several things, with the giving, with the way we eat, with the way we dress, and all this so we can live well upon this earth. The bottom line is that the solution to wiping out hatred for our people, anti-Semitism, lies in teshuvah, in turning back to the Lord, the God of the armies, for he's crying out, it is not by your power, it is not by your might and by the things you choose, but by my spirit, says Adonai Tzevaot. It's the only answer. Shabbat Shalom. One of the most difficult things is to draw out a bottom line from these Torah portions. I remember Rabbi always talked about it. Remember when he said he went to Mexico one day and in the airport, he saw a beautiful mosaic. And when you got really close, he saw all these little pieces of glass different color glass, but he couldn't see the bigger picture. And he said he had to go way back in order to see the beautiful mosaic. And that's exactly what he would tell us, that that's exactly what how the Torah is. So how do we stand back and how do we see that, especially through the filters of our own understanding? Because we always see things. It doesn't matter what people tell us, we're all going to interpret it through the filters of our understanding and our belief systems. That's why it's so difficult. Um, but these portions in Deuteronomy, they touch my heart so much because of what I went through. And I know that I hear so many people say, "Oh, God's such a hard God. He's such a harsh God." But let me tell you, the consequences of the things that we do that go against him are so much harsher. He understands evil. I met someone yesterday who said to me, why is God, um, why would God do that? Why did he create evil? Why does he want to make us go through all this? Why doesn't he just keep it simple? And I tried to, like I said, well, what if you were married to somebody, if your wife was did everything you wanted, just was followed absolutely everything you said, just followed you around like a little puppy dog, ready to do everything for you, was just always kind, always nice. I mean, of course they would love it, but I don't know how bored we would get. It's not a simple answer. Why did God make us go through the curses
But
before?
maybe, Clara, maybe Peggy, it has to do back again to free will.
That's
How
what
could you? Because to me, when you look at the Garden of Eden, before all the things happened, the Gan, anyway, um, in a higher way of looking at things, yes, I don't believe anyway that you have to have killing and evil. And I think it's when we really messed up, and free will is the ultimate gift of God, but we made
Adam and Eve free will.
free will is the gift of God. So how could you exercise free will if there aren't consequences because that's what I think it is. I don't think it's that in this world, yes, a husband that did everything or a wife that did everything, but that's still in our paradigm. But in a bigger paradigm, I don't think evil is. Anyway, I think it has to do with free will, that there are consequences of our actions.
Of course. And he didn't create robots. He didn't,
No, so that's
he
yeah,
he wants a relationship, and a relationship is two ways.
right.
And he's constantly testing us and these things. And it's hard because, like when I read, tear down their asherim, tear down their pillars and their posts. So, how do we in our lives, because we're not going to physically tear down all those things in Israel today, although God will one day, because there are plenty of them in Israel. What are the asherim? What are the pillars, the totem poles, the things in our lives that have to be torn down? And I notice that whenever I deal with the things in my life that that I've raised up almost like a god, and and they are lies. They are lies about who I am as an individual. Like, for instance, you are stupid. You will never amount to anything. You are dyslexic, so you'll never be able to learn. You are ADHD, so you can never train your impulses. You can't eat only one chip. You're going to eat all the whole bag. All these things. Oh, I'll never get to sleep because I had coffee. We have so many systems, beliefs that go on in our minds that we have accepted, that we believe, that take us away from having shalom. That is for me the bottom line. God wants us to live with shalom. You know, this past week, there were so many tests that I had, and I saw that I had dealt with something, a root of something in my own life that was stealing my shalom. And there were so many tests this week. Like I turned a corner where I wasn't supposed to, and that police car pulled me over, and I got $180.
Yeah.
$180. And immediately I could have gotten so upset, but there was something that had happened that I said, it's not going to take my shalom away. And how many times did I deserve a ticket and I didn't get it? Nobody saw me. This will pay for it all. And there were other things that I was able to tell myself that it didn't steal my shalom. And then my kids called me. My kids were so upset because of something that their father was doing. It didn't steal my shalom. I just spoke the truth, and I stood up and I spoke to him, and I was able to keep my shalom this whole week. Doesn't mean it'll happen again next week. Maybe there'll be another test along the way. But every week that we walk with our God, and that we obey his commandments, and that we live his truth and not our truth. And that's a process. And it's
I just want to ask you, just to clarify
okay.
about the giving not the roadkill, but giving the stuff to the gear.
Isn't that something?
But could you explain it to me? Like,
Um, let me, well, it had nothing because it really didn't have anything to do with the food. It had to do with, step back, it had to do with paganism. It's really, in my understanding, and maybe you see it in a different way, Mauricio. How would you answer
not just me to.
what Miriam just asked? Because he's asking, why did God say the ger can't? Can he? Why is someone who's beloved? Why should they eat this food? Remember what Rabbi said. He's separating a people,
Right.
taking us away and giving us certain things that we shouldn't do while the rest can do. Is he saying, I don't, I want the ger poisoned or the alien poisoned? No, because it had nothing to do with the food. It had to do with him separating a people so that we could go back to them and tell them there's only one God and this is what you should follow. Does that make any sense to you,
Yeah.
Mauricio?
Yeah, for me, is sometimes I believe that Torah and the prophets and all the scriptures make some statements that that are put with an objective, okay, to create this um the discussion, okay, because what is the main objective of God? Uh, yeah, it's good to be ger. I mean, it's one step, okay? But at the end, the point is that you want that this ger join to Israel. Uh-huh. So uh, for me, sometimes the Torah put these things we struggle to make us think and to move the ger to become part of Israel. So uh, the main point here is good for them to eat this or is not good to eat for these things for them, okay? uh yes, he could eat everything because he's not under he's not Israelite, okay? He can eat, um but at the end is more like, do you want to join to Israel? Is this kind of things for me. That's my point of view. Um, in obviously, uh, when God created the whole world, He said, "Oh, I bless the whole creation." Remember? So if we start to think, so is shrimp, for example, not blessed by God? Yeah. Or is not every insect blessed by God? I mean, the whole creation, God saw everything and He saw that was good, was stuff. It has a function, okay? And so the point is not about if it's good or it's not good, for example, to eat, because the whole things are blessed. The point is that that God wanted to separate Israel, okay, in create some signals to say they are different, okay. So the question is not probably, is God allowing them to get sick? Okay. No. The question is more like, how can I say these people is different, is separated from the rest of the world? And so it's not really about, and that is why it's a Joaquin, because there is, okay, I can eat, for example, a shrimp, and suddenly there's no thunder that is hitting me because I ate a shrimp. Okay. But the point is that I decide to not eat a shrimp, for example, because I want to live separated for the rest. And so the question is then that God is making something that the rest of the world doesn't have. They don't have limits. Okay. So that's why the question that now is turning is, why do you eat something different like me? Why you don't eat this? Why you don't dress this? Why you don't follow these ideas? Because God also wants that we be like a candle lighting the darkness of the people, in saying, oh, God put limits on me, and I have decided to follow these limits. So uh so so for me it's not really about uh why God allows to eat them, because they are limitless with the food. But for us, it's just to follow God commandments, in because it's not about dietary, it's not about healthy, it's not
Right.
about things like that. Yes, they have, and you know, today I was thinking when I read your message, that how sad is that right now kosher food is a marketing, okay? Eh, is just to add some value to the world, because they can see the seal kosher, and now they're gonna pay more money because of the certificate.
Yeah.
So today is, many people don't know that you eat, for example, many food with kosher, uh, but they are adding the price, okay, for having kosher certificate.
Right.
So right now it's a business. So the idea of of uh, of the Torah, we have completely um, make a business of his house, of
Right.
their commandments.
Right.
And
We've
that is all.
yeah.
So when I start to think about that, it's very sad because I can tell you I have known many places that are not kosher, and people that belongs these companies are not kosher people, and they have a kosher certificate because they paid
Mhm.
the price.
Yeah.
So at the end, uh, it's not really about the kind of food you have. It's not what you eat. It's not about to have this seal.
Right.
It's just to follow the what the Torah is saying. So uh, that is something that I have to deal with because honestly, at my house, at my country, at my family, uh, they don't have limits. So
What?
and they don't have limits with food. Okay, everybody can, for example, can eat whatever they have, and it's a culture of the Salvadorian people.
Right.
If you give them an ant and you say taste it, you will taste.
Wow.
Okay, so and it's just because we are there is a Peruvian, I think, and from the Andes animal that they call us in Latin America. They call us uh, the it's like llama y guanaco. Guanaco is a kind of animal, seems like similar to the camel, but they grow at the Andes,
The
uh,
llamas.
like llamas. Yes, they are very similar.
Yeah.
And this animal eats everything.
Mm.
Okay, so
Like the
when so that is to say, okay, you are like that animal. That is my people. I know
The
it's
bear
not.
eats everything.
Yeah, we add everything, yes. So that is probably one of the things, and God has mercy of my country. So
mm,
it's not really about to say, oh, you have decided. And it's interesting that in this portion, you can see there are two difference. They call the land, you will conquer the land, I think, or something like that about the land, like Eretz, but also the land as Adam,
Dama, right.
Adama, yes.
Yeah,
So what is the difference? Eretz is the land of Israel, Adama is the whole earth.
exactly.
So God is saying, I am the God of the whole world.
Mm,
Okay. So um so for me, it's not something dietary necessarily. It's about to be and to have a behavior, okay, with food, and to put limits on us, not because of healthy or whatever. No, it's just to show that we can control our food. We can control our desire to eat what God. Imagine if God would say in the Torah, "You will not eat mangoes." He could say that,
yeah,
okay?
yeah,
And mango is kosher, mango is not bad, is mango. But if in the Torah is written, so we today we couldn't eat mangoes,
yeah.
okay? But He had mercy on us. So
But
that is
the rules of the kashrut have become more important than the Ten Commandments,
yes,
and which is
exactly.
yeah. And God wants our behavior to be different. He wants
And also to interpretations because some I have seen people that if doesn't have the seal kosher, oh, I cannot eat.
yeah,
That is not what the Torah says.
No. Or it's not kosher enough. I can't eat in this restaurant. I have to go to that restaurant because it's a different. And the
Well,
restaurant,
imagine if you have to cook, for example, for a lot of people.
yeah,
So this, how do you say that? Cacerola in English. This pan,
yeah,
okay, is for this food, and I only can eat this pan for this food. And now I have another pan for this. How many dishes you have to clean up at the end of making a meal?
I
So.
would go to my aunt. Not only did they have two sets of dishes, but at Passover they had another two sets of dishes.
Mhm.
Four sets.
So you,
Yeah. Some
eh,
even have two kitchens.
yes.
Yeah, it's
So
comes too much, and people don't understand the consequences of that is because it becomes a mockery of God because people don't want to follow God.
and you put burdens on people. For example, if there is someone that not necessarily is poor, because if you need to have two kitchens, it's because you have money.
Right.
So imagine, for example, if you live in an apartment.
Yeah,
So you are living under a hill, you have guilty because, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. And so people decide to abandon the religion because I don't have enough
exactly.
resources.
But that's exactly what that's but they abandon God.
Mhm.
That's the worst thing. When people leave a religion because they're fed up, where do they go? There's no synagogue now that will teach you about having a relationship with God without having all those rules and regulations. And each one has its own. And there's the same, that's the sad thing about religion, what religion has done. And that's what, when Yeshua got so upset with the money changes. It says here, the offerings we bring, no blemish, no lame, no blind. And the temple, they were selling that, and he threw over the money changes. He wasn't a meek man. He was upset at what they were doing. But it's so much more. It's there's something inside us that when people see the behavior that we have, they say there's something different about that person. And then they ask. So um it's so much bigger than kashrut. And I don't think we realize the extent of the pagan practices that are still part of our everyday life all over our nations. And
And that's why leads me to what you wrote in your message, because you put that idolatry not necessary is to have a physical idol, is everything that substitute God and make us believe in new things that are not written in the Torah.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
that for me is what is leading us about all this. So sometimes we may think, oh, this is good because is something religious, but
yeah.
probably is an idolatry.
Well, it's like God says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And we're led to believe that we have no value, that, you're stupid or all these things. They are lies. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. We are different. We are unique, each one of us. And God doesn't want us comparing ourselves to other people. Compare yourself with yourself as the way you were maybe last year, or compare yourself with how I made you. And if we see ourselves as that, our behavior is going to be different. You know, he made us good. He didn't make us
Yeah.
perfect. He didn't make us great. He made us good. And that has to be good enough. That's what I had to keep telling myself over and over because my voice in the past, the little voice from when I was young says, you're not good enough. Because you're dyslexic, you'll never amount to anything. These are lies.
Yeah. So, and also, I just want to comment something is not about the parsha. Is Isabel sent me some video about Ezekiel 33, I guess, when Israel come back to it's about the bonds, the empty bonds,
Alms?
dry bonds, yes. And Israel is returning back to the house. It's interesting how the person who is talking, they said, "Oh, Israel is not returning. They return like dry bones, because they only return physically, but without a spirit." Okay,
Right.
um, but probably that's not really true at all. I mean, because yes, they return back to Israel like dry bones because um, they have nothing more than the bitahon in emunah on God. They went to a place completely isolated, a desert, a place with enemies. Eh, So you really need to have faith on God, not probably in a religious way, oh, we will worship right now God. No, when you start to for example, to care of the land, and to seal the land, to start to make productive the land, to buy a place thinking in the future you will have something better, because nobody. And that is interesting because Israel was a land owned by Arabs, and they sell this desert meter by meter to Israelites,
Yes.
and they sell with a high price.
Mm. Yeah.
So nobody tells you that, because is something that press need to hide.
Ex-
Okay,
Exactly.
they are occupiers.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and they are not.
No.
They bought the land.
Yeah.
So in when you make an investment on the land, honestly, it's like the father Abraham. He bought the land because he looked beyond the present.
Right.
So he had emunah. He said, "Oh, tomorrow will be, here will be Tel Aviv." I don't know. He saw many things. So they both when a person who is investing money on a place, is because they have a different spirit, because they know that in the future the land will be more valuable.
Mhm.
So that is the first thing. So God started to make arise Israel, and
Mhm.
so at the end, the person is referring that that is how the prophecies are fulfilled, and start to fulfill, and then we will see uh, Zechariah 12, I guess, verse 10, and they said they will see me and recognize me. Obviously, he's trying to talk about Jesus or about a Messiah, but for me, it's not really about Yeshua. Is that we trespass God. So how? Because when we were not obedient to His commandments, okay, is that we we trespass the limits He put on us, okay, And suddenly we will see him to God, like Reeh today, look to have conscience, okay? And after you have conscience, so you have the power to decide because now you can take and assume responsibilities. So uh, it is not really about that we will see a person who was crucified and had the nails in the hands or whatever part. Uh, no, it's about that we will recognize, we will see uh, God, okay, and to say, oh, I made a mistake, I commit a mistake, so I need to make teshuvah. And it's the same spirit of this portion in the Haftarah. In the Haftarah says that God will bring us shalom, okay, and and it says twice. And how? One is that we will be. It's not really disciple. It is about to be taught by God. In the second is about justice. So in why, yes, God is giving us the opportunity to be sons, and that is one precious step, but it's not enough. Why we need to be taught by God? Because uh, we need to understand in to comprehend, to interiorize, to to look into when, okay, for example, I'm gonna give this example. You are going to the beach and you know there is a safeguard
A
in
life.
front, alive, alive. So you can trust to enter to the beach into the sea because you know there is one person who is watching me or is watching everything. So if the sea is very heavy swells, so he can save me. Okay, that is one step.
Mhm.
But another step is when you are taught and learn to swim. Okay, that's
Mhm.
another step. Yes, you can know that there is a lifeguard there to watch you, and but it's different when you learn, for example, to swim because now you have another way to save.
Mhm.
So you know that your backup is there, but now you can swim, so you can know how to deal with the ocean in some way. So uh and that is exactly why we need to be taught by God, because it is not only know, oh, God is my protector. Yes, that is one step, but
Right.
another thing is to know when you don't feel nothing, you don't feel emotion, you don't feel any care, uh, that God is protecting you. So uh, that is probably why bring us shalom. And you were talking about shalom today. So that is a little bit of a comment that I wanted to say. So it's like you mentioned in the in the learning today. Uh, it is not about to really, oh, there is a butterfly, blue,
Oh,
and big one
wow.
flying.
Maybe that's the
Okay.
one the boy went down to see,
No,
the
there's
blue butterfly.
a movie about that.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
very beautiful. So like there's a fire that talks today in the Torah, in the portion of the Haftarah. And so that mm, we don't have to say, oh, that is a servant of God. No, we need to test.
Yeah.
Uh, in, in, and that's probably something that also when we take from the the text out of the context, out of the historical moment, out of the meaning of the person. And I have seen many mistakes for this because sometimes we take a verse without taking the whole verse,
Yeah.
without taking the whole chapter, without taking the whole book, and so we can give interpretations. And the problem is that honestly, that conduct us to mistakes, and because that is what we are seeing in these portions. The heart of the human is very deceitful, and probably the truth that I am speaking, okay, is the truth, and if someone is trying to to uh, to bother me by asking me questions, okay, so then I am bothered and I say, oh, that's a liar. That no, the test is very easy, okay? Is he talking about the Torah or not? And that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Some people challenge, but they don't really want to know the answer. They really want to just prove their position, which is very convenient. But we always have to keep in mind the that God's power, his spirit is with us. He walks with us through every moment of our day. And he sees us. He doesn't take us out of the fire. He walks through it, as I said before. He walks through every challenge. And we have to learn not to lie, to learn that the first person that we deceive is ourselves. And when we start to see the truth about ourselves, then that's what brings us the peace and the shalom that we can live with. And shalom is extremely healthy for us in every way, because when the world robs us of shalom is when we get sick and we say the wrong things, we do the wrong things, we destroy relationships, we destroy unity. So we always have to look for the things that bring us back to shalom in our lives. And I pray that for each and every one of us in this community, that we can find the shalom that God has for us, and we can depend on him and lean on him while we learn to make our own choices, make the right choices, this starts with Reeh. I set before you today a blessing and a curse. I ask, he always says that, I give you life and I give you death. Choose life. May we choose life in every single thing we do. And it's a process. The older we get, the more we learn. So thank you, Mauricio. Miriam, do you want to say anything before we close?
This one thing is, let me just see. Well, always the thing I think I said last week too, just quickly, the thing about testing. God doesn't test us in a cruel way, but I mean, when it's like when it says, the dreamers and prophets and all these things that are before us, and do we stand strong in our loyalty to the one truth? And it's not like it's not a legalistic thing. Like some people take certain things to an extreme, but there is only one creator of all. And again, when they went into the land and they said destroy their Ashtaroth and their the groves where they worshiped other gods. He didn't just send them into another land and say, slaughter everyone there, like the colonialists. Now Israel's being accused of being colonialist. No, Israel's not wanting to take over other lands. But so when they went into the land, it wasn't, God was doing it, like these people were doing such horrendous things. They were, awful pagan things of the kids were slaughtered. Anyway, all of those things I was just thinking of, because so many people are calling Israel a colonialist nation now. It was never about colonialism.
So funny because if you look at the map, all the land that belongs to the Muslim nations are huge, and we have this tiny little.
I know, but they still accuse even now, why are they going into the West Bank? That's one of the things that sparked with my sister when we were yelling at each other, and I said, no, we can't do this. But anyway, why are they going into the West Bank? Why are they doing this? Why are they going into here? I mean, it has nothing to do with colonialism. They offered, many times they offered, at the beginning of the formation of Israel. They offered a two-state solution and they refused.
When we gave back the West Bank, all they did was throw firebombs at us.
Yeah.
We can't allow it, period. If someone was sitting outside Clara's house and constantly throwing stones at her windows and throwing firebombs at her windows, is she not supposed to say anything or do anything?
No, of course.
We have to, we defend ourselves.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with all about the gods of the world against the one God.
Right. Exactly.
Bottom line is always what we have to look for, the root. So yeah. All right. Have a wonderful rest of the Shabbat, everybody. Thank you so much for participating in our service, and we continue to pray for each other. Mauricio, I hope you'll be with us next week because I think you're reading the Torah portion next week, from my understanding. We look forward to seeing you, and you'll be welcoming the Alvarados there.
Thank you, Mauricio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mauricio. Gracias.
Maybe
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. I'll miss
3
you.
weeks.
3, I know.
Have a good time, los
Buenas
tortelitos.
Mauricio, see you soon. See you soon.
Have a wonderful
Yeah.
Have a wonderful time.
Bye bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Shalom.
Shabbat shalom. Shalom.